Hey y'all. Allie, Sharon, Lacey. Hey love. How are y'all? What's up? What's up? Can y'all hear me good? I'm sure you can. I am pretty good, Sharon. How are you doing, love? I'm doing pretty good. A positive mindset and a positive life gives you a positive life. It does. What you think is what you manifest, I believe. Have y'all watched any of the Kohlberger stuff today? I haven't. I've saved it for this. We're going to watch The Arraignment. I got it, which it's not hard to find. And I got a few little snippets that we're going to watch after it. See, I don't know, Lace. I haven't watched any of it yet. That's fucked up. I don't think they should give him death penalty. I think they should just let him rot in fucking prison for the rest of his life. That's going to be a bigger punishment than taking him out of this world. Fucking coward. Which, yeah, death penalty. I don't know. I don't care about them because I think they should sit in prison and, yeah. Hey, Squid. Hey, love. Just one second, y'all. Let me get this. Let me get myself together here and what I want to play first. Okay. I know life in prison does come out of Texas. That's the only thing I don't like about it, Lace. But yeah, yeah, right, Allie. Because there's people that's been on death row for years and years and years and years. They die on death row waiting to get prosecuted to the death penalty. I've not watched this, Squid, but I do got a video. I'm gonna drop the link in case anybody wants to come up. You don't have to, but anybody's welcome to if they want. And we're gonna get started watching this arraignment, and then we'll talk about it. And I got some other things and to go with it to talk about.
All rise. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Good morning, everybody.
We have some people on Zoom here too, so we're gonna hide it. Okay, let's get on the record, please. Thank you. Okay, we are now on the record in State of Idaho versus Brian C. Koberger, CR 2922-2803. Mr. Koberger is in the courtroom along with his attorney, Ms. Taylor. I believe also part of the team is Jay Ronson and Elisa Massa, who is participating by Zoom, I believe. The state is represented by Mr. Thompson, Lake Clark County Prosecutor's Office, or Prosecuting Attorney. Ms. Jennings is of that office too, Lake Clark County Prosecutor's Office. Also, part of that team is Ingrid Beatty and Jeff Nye, both from the Idaho Attorney General's Office. I'm John Judge. If you don't know me, I'm a Lake Clark County District Judge, and I'll be presiding over this case. So, Mr. Koberger, you've already heard a lot of what I'm going to tell you at your initial appearance, but I'll repeat it to you because it's important, and I want to remind you of these issues. So I'll briefly cover your rights, the charges against you, and the maximum penalties if you are found guilty or if you plead guilty. So I'm going to start with the rights. You have a constitutional right to have an attorney represent you throughout these proceedings. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, then one is appointed at public expense. Ms. Taylor and her team have already been appointed, so that's taken care of. You have a right to a speedy and public jury trial where the state would be required to prove every element of each charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. At that trial, you would have the right to cross-examine the witnesses called against you. That means to see, hear, and question them, to call witnesses to testify for you, and if you choose to testify in your own defense. But you're not required to testify because you also have a right of silence. That right is protected under the Idaho and federal constitutions, so you can remain silent throughout these court proceedings, and that can't be held against you in any way. What you do need to remember, though, is that anything you do say, other than to your lawyers, could be used against you in a later court proceeding. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. You also have a right to appeal any final decision of the court. In order to exercise that right, you need to file a notice of appeal within 42 days of that final decision, or that right is waived. Also, if you are not a United States citizen, any finding of guilt in the state could have adverse consequences to your legal status. Do you understand these rights?
Yes.
Any questions about the rights?
No.
All right. So let's go to the indictment. You have a copy of the indictment in front of you?
Yes.
Thank you. And you see in the heading your name there. Is that your correctly spelled complete name?
Yes, it is.
Is that the correct birth date underneath your name?
Yes.
Are those the correct last four digits of your social security number?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to read you the charges on the indictment, starting with count 1, burglary as a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-1401 and 1403. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Lake Clark County, State of Idaho, did unlawfully enter a residence located at 1122 King Road.
You know, it blows my mind that he has women lawyers, right? I don't think I could stand, I don't know, I couldn't go against my morals on shit like this, being a lawyer. Even though she's like court appointed, can she like say, no, I'm not doing this case? Can she say that? Yeah, he's not showing no emotion of nothing. He's got that serial killer look on his face, Savannah, like just a stone cold dead, you know? I could not represent somebody. She could rescue herself. Okay, that's what I thought. That you could be like, no, I don't want this. I couldn't do it. And she was Xana's mom's lawyer too at one point. I couldn't do it.
King Road, Moscow, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. Count 2, murder in the first degree. That was a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Lake Powell County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan.
Hold up. What was that little smirk or whatever he done when he looked at his lawyer? Sorry, I'm going to take that back.
Count 2, murder.
Let me put this on regular speed. This channel won't strike you. They let people use their stuff.
In the first degree. That is a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Lake Powell County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with
That motherfucker. Did you see him smirk at her? Oh, wow. I can't get it right back on there, but wow, what the fuck? She's a dirty bitch. That lawyer's a dirty bitch.
4004. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Lake Powell County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogan, from which she died. Count 3, murder in the first degree, a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003.
Okay, this probably don't mean nothing, but it's interesting that Madison is the first one. Because I think Madison was the target. I mean, we've talked about this. I think he met her and Santa both at the Mad Creek. But I think Maddie was his initial target. The only one. He didn't expect Kaylee to be there because Kaylee was done moved out and shit. Allegedly or whatever. I'm not sure if he knew that Xana lived there with Maddie or whatever, but I think Xana and Ethan just was at the wrong place at the wrong time.
4004. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Lake Powell County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder.
No, Squid, this one's okay to play this one. Thank you, though, love. I use Law and Crime all the time, this channel, because they don't care as long as you don't cover their watermark up, and they're a really good true crime channel. I watch them all the time for everything. But thank you. This is good. And who just came in? Cash's Gems. Hey, love. Y'all think it was Kaylee? See, I don't. I think it was Maddie. It could have been Kaylee. It could have. You're right, though. Maybe he's seen them out somewhere or something. I don't know.
Kayla Gonzalez, a human being, by stabbing Kayla Gonzalez, from which she died. Count 4, murder in the first degree. That's a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. Alleging that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Lake Powell County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle. Excuse me. This is hard. I'm sorry. Xana Kernodle.
Oh, that poor judge. I feel bad for him. He's getting all choked up. Bless his heart. That has to be hard.
A human being, by stabbing Xana Kernodle, from which she died. Count 5, murder in the first degree. This is a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. This alleges that you, Honor,
Well, see, I do believe that it was one of the girls upstairs because it was either Kaylee or Maddie because of what Steve Gonzalez said in the beginning before they put the gag order on the case. He said, like specifically, they didn't even have to go upstairs. But why did he go upstairs? You know, there had to be a reason unless it was Xana or Ethan. See, that always confused me because I don't know what he meant by that. Yes, Cassius Jones. He sent one of them messages on Instagram, I believe, and he had one of them's ID got found in his car or somewhere too, in a glove. I don't know. I just believe Maddie was the first one killed since the sheath was laying beside her. No, Savannah. Kaylee was not. It was Maddie and Xana. Kaylee's worked. I don't know where she worked. Maddie and Xana worked in the restaurant he went to, the Mad Greek. That's why I think it was Maddie. I think that's where he met him at. Do you know, look at Chris Watts, though. He didn't look like a murderer to me. He was normal looking. He was a good looking guy, the all-American family. They had a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, good job, you know. No, Kaylee didn't work at the restaurant.
about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing Ethan Chapin, from which he died. This was signed on May 16, 2023, by the presiding grand juror. So now I'm going to go to the maximum penalties of each charge, starting with count 1, burglary, minimum 1 year, up to 10 years in imprisonment, fine of up to $50,000 or both fine and imprisonment, restitution for the victim's.
Yes, Squid. Chris Watts did have those eyes when he was running up to the house, but that was after. But like before Chris killed, he looked normal. I don't know, but after the murders, he did look, wild. But Brian, he looked fucking wild before this happened, when he got pulled over and in front of that school and everything. I don't know.
Economic losses resulting from the crime. For counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, murder in the first degree, maximum penalties, life in prison, or the death penalty. Fine of up to $50,000, or both fine and life in prison or the death penalty. Restitution for the victim's economic losses resulting from the crime. Also, additional fine of up to $5,000 to be paid directly to the victim's families. If you are found guilty or plead guilty on each charge, and the maximum sentences are imposed consecutively, that means one right after the other, you could be facing 10 years in prison, followed by 4 consecutive life sentences or death penalty.
Squid, that's wild you say that about being possessed by demons, because I don't know. I believe in stuff like that, and I believe that's what happened to Chris Watts. I swear I do. And like I know most of y'all maybe know Save Robbie. Him and Mexi used to go to the Watts house because they live close to it and do paranormal stuff there, and it was fucking wild. And yeah, I totally believe in stuff like that. If somebody's really got that gift. And Mexi, yeah, I totally believe Chris Watts got possessed by demons. I swear I do. This guy here, he's just a fucking piece of shit.
Penalties. Fines of up to $200,000 and $20,000 to be paid directly to the families with any restitution resulting from the crimes. Okay. Mr. Koberger, do you understand the charge in count 1?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 2, murder in the first degree?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 3, murder in the first degree?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 4, murder in the first degree?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 5, murder in the
Yes.
first degree? Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Taylor, is Mr. Koberger prepared to plead to these charges?
Your Honor, we will be standing silent.
Okay, because Mr. Koberger is standing silent, I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on each charge. Counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, at this juncture, the state has 60 days to give notice of intention to seek the death penalty. And Mr. Koberger has a constitutional and statutory right to a speedy trial. So let's start with you, Ms. Taylor, and then Mr. Thompson to discuss some schedule.
Your Honor, we'd ask the court.
Standing silent, that kind of tells me a lot right there. Lacey, I don't think they've tore it down yet. Not yet. I seen a recent picture the other day, and there was like this little, looked like a ticket booth. You know, like when you go to the fair and you first drive in, there's people at parks and stuff. It looked like a little ticket booth like that and a porta potty there. So I don't think they've tore it down yet. I don't think they should. They should wait until after the trial, like they did in Murdaugh case, because the jurors went to the Murdaugh scene, you know, and it really helped them. I think they should do this here. It would really give people a better idea, you know. Yeah, Squid, I don't understand that. Why they just don't say not guilty, because it kind of makes you look guilty to me, in my opinion, allegedly, you know. I think I got a picture of that house somewhere, Lace, a recent one. Let me see. I screenshot all kinds of shit and never use it. Let's see here. Maybe I did. I've seen it somewhere. I'll get it. Yeah, but I don't understand the point of standing silent. That makes no sense. Wacky, hey love. Glad you could join us. How are you? Me neither, Lacey. I've never heard of it either. It's weird. Weird as fuck. It kind of screams, hey, I'm guilty, but I don't want to come out, you know? I mean, the motherfucker couldn't even say it himself. This lawyer, I don't like her at all. She's a snake.
Court to set this trial at the very outside of the speedy trial, right? We're not prepared to do anything but ask the court to do that today.
Okay. Have we counted out when that will be? November?
I have not counted it out, Your Honor, but I believe that would be about November 22nd is when it's run. Maybe November 20th. So I'd ask the court to set it for an October trial date.
How long do you think it will take to try the case?
My best guess is it would take at least 4 weeks, maybe 6.
So you'd like me to set this for a 6-week trial?
At this point, I would, Your Honor.
Well, and in order to do so, I will have to critical and more important. So, Mr. Thompson, what's your?
Those trial dates are workable for the state judge.
Thank you. About October 2nd, starting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, for 6 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Anything else we need to address today, Ms. Taylor?
Not with regard to the trend study.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Thompson?
Nothing to say at this time now.
Lacey, that's what I keep looking at. Girl, you had your hair up in a ponytail before you come in here. Oh, I don't like this lawyer.
All right. So
Hey, Sonia.
that, by the way, I do want to let everybody know, if they don't already know this, that once the grand jury issued the indictment, preliminary hearing scheduled to start on June 26th was no longer needed and was vacated. So some people are confused about that. So I thank counsel and the media and the public for your attention and respect. So we are adjourned. Thank you.
The damn closed caption done on dirty said you are a jerk. Okay, Lace, I found the thing that I was going to show y'all. Hold on. This is the most recent picture of King Road House right here. Yeah, it's a guard shack. It said security on it. That's crazy, ain't it? They just need to leave it. It's been left this long. Why not leave it a little longer, you know? Yeah, I hate that house. It just looks creepy. Even, I don't know. It's a weird fucking house. It's like the house of horrors. They said this murder was the worst slaying in American history like that. Because of how, it must have been really bad in that house. I wonder if we'll ever get to see any crime scene photos or anything. Because, usually every case gets something leaked. Yes, Anya, they're going to demolish it. I don't know when, but that was like recent that somebody had a drone there, I think, videoing it. Bad vibes, yep. Well, look at the Watts house. Somebody just bought it, and it's weird because it's a family, has 2 girls and a boy. Just like Shanann and Chris, except for the boy, baby's born, but it will tear the jury up to see. That's why, I know I would get PTSD, and they want to say that one thing that we watched, they said that Dylan was just her normal self, no PTSD, no trauma, no, yeah, right. Come on, there's no way. Yeah, somebody will get a hold of them. I think so, Squid. We always get something from something. Except for Kylie's case. We really didn't get much from it. Okay, let's see here. I got some more things. Let's see here what I'm going to play next for us. Like I said, I've not watched none of this stuff. Some of it's just going to be reactions. A lot of this I've just heard. Hold on. Okay, here is a defense attorney. This is what I wanted to play. It tells us a little bit about what's going to happen. The area around Reno. Yeah, Reno, there's a child trafficking ring that goes through there.
Over to criminal defense attorney and legal expert John Henry Brown, who's joining us live this morning to talk more about this arraignment and possible next steps even for this case. So, John, first of all, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to get right to the question about the suspect's decision on standing silent and not actually verbally saying or entering a plea. Can you explain a little bit about what that means?
Well, it's not uncommon, and it really doesn't have any legal significance. The judge enters when you don't say not guilty or guilty, which of course wouldn't happen in this case. The judge will normally enter pleas for you, and that's usually always not guilty. So that's not really very unusual. It doesn't really have a lot of meaning.
And so let's talk about next steps, because we do know now that the trial will begin or is set to begin October 2nd. And the attorney for Kohberger actually asked for a slightly longer. She actually asked for it to be pushed as far back as November. Do you think that what do you think that the defense is now working on at this time?
Well, that's a really early trial date for a death penalty case. I'm assuming that date will be continued again. In cases like this, I've had a lot of material that's online in the court proceedings, and I'm sure there's a lot of DNA evidence that may or may not be questionable. There'll probably be a battle of the experts on DNA and perhaps some other crime scene experts. So I think an October trial date is very optimistic. The death penalty cases I've handled, we had more than a year at a minimum to prepare for trial.
And of course, probably one of the best known cases that you are known for representing, of course, is Ted Bundy. And so you have tons of expertise in dealing with cases of this magnitude. Is there anything else that people should know about who aren't necessarily as familiar with the legal system in trying to follow this case?
Well, it's not well known, but it's true. And actually, I wrote a book, but I'm not plugging it. But I got a plea bargain for Ted involving 4 states that if he pled guilty in Florida, he would avoid the death penalty. And it took a while, but myself and another attorney talked him into it. He signed the paperwork. We walked into court. He said he's not going to do it. And that was the last I decided to help him. Basically, if you want to die, then I don't have time for you. I would think in almost all cases involving the death penalty, there's rigorous plea bargaining going on. When I represented Sergeant Bales, who was charged with some homicides in Afghanistan, it was a death penalty case, and we resolved that case by taking the death penalty off the table after a lot of work. And here, see, in Idaho, you get preliminary hearings. We don't in Washington. Normally, if you're indicted or charged by information, you don't get a preliminary hearing. Preliminary hearing could be very interesting in this case. It's a preview. It's a preview of what the government has, and the defense has a good opportunity to question the evidence and get more information at a preliminary hearing. It's interesting that there's a book that's recently released called Justice in the Time of Judgment by Anne Bremner, Bremner, and her brother Doug Bremner. It's an excellent book for everybody involved in this to read, because it's very timely, because the question they ask is possible to get a fair trial in the time of social media? And I personally, unfortunately, think it's not. social media really changed the presumption of innocence and proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm sure there's thousands, if not millions, of texts and emails and posts on this case. I'm sure most of them are against the defendant. So it's a really interesting book because they came to the conclusion, and Ann Bremner was a longtime prosecutor, very well known, and it's a really good book. But I don't think it's possible to get a fair trial anymore with a case where there's a lot of pretrial attention. You know, in Canada, it's against the law to have pretrial publicity of any kind. And
No,
the reason they do that is, yeah, it's very interesting.
Okay, I don't really, this guy's not getting my attention like I thought he would, so I'm gonna, unless y'all want to keep watching that. And it's good that this one that Lacey shared is on Law and Crime Network too. So that's good, because I like that channel. Let me speed it up some. We'll watch this. This is about the gag order stuff, so this should be interesting.
Let's get back on the record then. Back on the record, State versus Brian Kohlberger, CR 29222805. It was explaining how the order and the scheduling conference might go, at least my plan. And so I'm going to start with you, Mr. Carone. Your clients have the motion to vacate the amended non-dissemination order filed May 1. Also, the motion to intervene filed May 1, same date. And now this case is in my hands, so I need to set a hearing. And I'm wondering how far out. I'd like to get some briefs, and this is a message to everybody before the hearing, including I want to hear arguments about whether or not there should be cameras in the courtroom in a high-profile case like this one. So, Mr. Carone, what looks good for you? And let me throw out, knowing that a lot of you were prepared to be here the week of June 26th, that might make sense. But I'll hear from you, Mr. Carone.
Yes, Your Honor. So with our motion to vacate, motion to intervene, we briefed the merits issues there. I think as the court's aware, we also briefed those issues for the Iowa Supreme Court. So I would think we could be ready to move pretty quickly. We have not briefed the issue of video cameras in the courtroom. So if that's something that you'd like the media coalition to weigh in on as well, we would need to submit a separate brief on that, but we can do that in the week of the 26th. The 26th itself, I'm not available, but the rest of the week would work.
Excellent. And I'll tell you the reason that I'm bringing up cameras in the courtroom is
Okay, so the 26th is when they go back to court. Is that when the trial starts, or?
because if I address that issue, and I haven't let you all know that that might be an issue, then I'm going to get a lot of grief for not allowing you to brief that issue. So that's why.
Right, Lacey. And why is he sitting in the chair that ponytail lady bumped? Who is this guy? I thought he had another lawyer, but it was a woman.
I'm giving you an advance notice on that. How do you feel about the afternoon of June 27? Given what's happening just quite recently, we might want to do that in person. I'm willing to do it remotely, but then we have to. There are a lot of different interests and different people who want to weigh in on that, so it might be better to be in person. But does that work for you? Say starting at 1:30, June 27, Mr. Carone?
Yes, Your Honor, that works for me. Ms. Olsen and myself were both in person. We would have been there today in person, but we found out about the in-person option on Friday, so I apologize for using Zoom today, but we can certainly be there in person. If the court's anticipating hearing from witnesses that day, then we'll have an entry hearing. There may be some witnesses that would want to appear via Zoom if that's okay with the court. I'm not sure if that's even something you're contemplating. I'm just flagging it in case you are.
Well, let me put it this way: it's your motion, and others' motions. And one of the complaints that I've seen in briefing is that there's no evidence in the case supporting any of it. You know, we're all kind of moving forward on supposition, I guess. And some of it is obvious, but I think that would be wise. I suppose you could just file declarations, and that's what's been done.
I don't think I like him either, Lace. He's kind of like he's not a real good spoken judge, you know. I don't know. He's like got an that sounds like me talking. A hillbilly that can't talk. Anthony Bourdain. Oh, he's in the Chester Bennington conspiracy.
how that's been going. I might, if we're gonna have a lot of testimony, I might want to move this back to 10 a.m. just to make sure that we have enough time to get things finished that day. Would that work for you?
Yeah, so our position on the evidentiary issue is your summary is correct that we don't believe that there is an adequate factual record at this point. Given that it is our motion, it's based on the record that existed when the order was issued. Procedurally, I'm not really sure there is an opportunity for additional evidence to be put forward. I only brought that up because I saw in Mr. Koberger's opposition to our motion for reconsideration that there was a mention of an expert witness. If that evidence is going to come forward, other evidence, we of course want the opportunity to cross-examine that individual or whatever individuals might be testifying. But as things currently stand for the record as it exists and the evidence that the Media Coalition intends to put forward, we included a declaration with their motion. I'm not sure there's really need for us to put on additional evidence, but if that's something the court was going to hear from the state of Mr. Koberger, then I just wanted to bring that to the court's attention.
Thank you, Mr. Corona. Of course, you'd have the opportunity to cross-examine any witness. All right. Well, we'll stay at 1:30 then. So now, Mr. Gray. So I'm thinking that maybe we should keep these things together and do them the same day if that works for you and the clients.
Well, Your Honor, I see the issue very clearly different from the AP's motion versus my motion. I think their motion is more of a getting rid of the non-dissemination order, the gag order. My motion is a motion to amend and or clarify some of the issues in the gag order. They have a lot of constitutional different issues that we have. I have some issues that I think are very separate. So I would request a hearing on my own much sooner. I think the court's aware I filed this motion in February on this case, and there's a massive delay based on the fact that previous Judge Marshall was waiting for the Supreme Court to get some clarification regarding the AP's motion that she filed with the Supreme Court. So I'm ready to go when the court's ready to go, but I think our issues are very, very different than that of the AP's motion on this case. So I would request a hearing much sooner I can do it by the end of this week.
All right. Well, and I recognize this was all pretty short notice for everybody. And I don't know if, let me go to Mr. Rudley and then Mr. Logsdon, because they're going to weigh in on that motion as well, I'm assuming. I'm thinking about maybe June 9th would be the soonest I could do this, but let me go to you, Mr. Logsdon.
Yeah, we'd be ready to go and would expect to put on an evidentiary presentation that week of the 26th. To the extent that Mr. Gray wants to have this motion heard ahead of time, and just based on what I've read in it. I mean, obviously, if the court would agree with some of the things that he says.
Into the mic, I guess.
Sorry. Obviously, if the court would agree with some of the things that he says and wants amending the order, that could change everything for everybody else. So to some extent, I think it actually is probably better to do them all at the same time, so the court isn't in piecemeal changing what we're all arguing about. But I would be ready for the night before the chose to do that.
No judge likes to do things piecemeal. But I also understand that Mr. Gray and his clients have been waiting for a long time now. It's not anybody's fault. It's just how that came down because the Associated Press et al. Went straight to the Supreme Court in February, early February. And that would trigger a delay, which it did. And it was important, I think, for Judge Marshall to get the direction from the Idaho Supreme Court before we start, chipping away at each order. I don't know if would you be, I'm okay setting it for June 9th, Mr. Gray, but you may have some testimony happening. You may want to wait until you hear what everybody else is saying. It's likely that there's going to be some adjustments, you might say, or clarifying in the order. Partly in my reading of the Supreme Court's decision, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but there were some hints maybe of what the trial court might want to consider. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Gray.
I was going to say, since this is your gag order now, this non-dissemination order, Your Honor, and in reading my motion, if it
What you talking about, like Allie and Murdaugh case? Because I don't think Alex was completely guilty. I think there's more to that. In my opinion, that's what I thought. I need some mustard for his biscuits. Going to cornbread. Yeah, I wish it was a female judge. I agree. Sonia, you saying exactly about Murdaugh not being guilty? Right, Lacey, it's exactly what I think. I think he knows. I think whoever done it made him watch him kill his wife and son and probably threatened to kill his other son or somebody if he said anything. Yeah, I don't think Murdaugh's guilty. I don't. I don't think he done it. I don't think Murdoch killed his wife and son. I really don't. Sling blade, yeah. Yeah. That's what they sound like. Even the lawyers and the prosecutors and stuff's like, I mean, that's not, I don't know. See, Savannah, that's what I think too. I think it had something to do with either the Stephen Smith or the Mallory Beach. And see, Mallory Beach was on that boat with his son. And then Stephen Smith's connected to the other son somehow. I was digging into all that and then I got out of it. Let's finish watching this.
If the court does want to consider making some of the modifications that might have been suggested in my motion, it may be, my motion may end up being moot. I think some of my modifications and or clarifications to the non-dissemination order are fairly minor, but allows, and I think the Supreme Court did give some guidance, which I think added weight to my arguments in my motion. So it's not above the court to take a look at my motion as well as any other motions that have been submitted to the court and modify the non-dissemination order, allowing for some of the issues that I discussed in my motion. And then you would only have the AP who are attacking, I think, the gag order as a whole, the non-dissemination order as a whole. I'm just addressing a couple of clarifications and amendments that would allow myself as an attorney to speak on behalf of my clients that regarding the non-dissemination order. And I think it's your order now, so you're more than apt to be able to go and make those changes, and then we wouldn't have an issue with the non-dissemination order at all. So I don't think that's, so obviously the 9th, I'd like to keep the 9th because my issues are very small and narrow regarding the non-dissemination order. But if you were to make changes to those ahead of time that I was able to review and it was acceptable, I would withdraw my motion, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Well, it would be highly unlikely for me to change the order before I hear from counsel. Because I don't want to, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. I only want to do this once. And I'm happy to set it for June 9th, maybe 10:30. Does that work for you?
That does, Your Honor.
Okay. Does that work for you, Mr. Rudley?
Yes, Your Honor, it does.
Okay. Mr. Longston?
Make it work, good.
Okay. Let's do that in person. Okay. So now we have the June 9th at 10:30. We also have the Associated Press et al. On June 27th at 1:30. I think that works for you, Mr. Rudley?
It does, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Excellent.
Your Honor, may I speak?
Yes, Mr. Crowe.
Your Honor, I apologize. I may have misunderstood what you said earlier. I was understanding that the week of June 26th was when the court was first available, but if the court is available to hear our motion earlier, we would be available on June 9th as well. I know that our most recent motion is pending more recently, but obviously we've been challenging this since February as well. And it's our position that the non-dissemination order violates the Associated Press and Media Coalition's First Amendment rights. Those constitutional violations are irreparable. So we would like our motions to be heard as soon as possible as well. And I suggested otherwise by agreeing with the week of the 26th. That was simply because I misunderstood that was when the court was first available.
Thank you. Oh, only one thing I'll say about that. Irreparable harm goes both ways. And so I was a little bit troubled by that claim without considering the Sixth Amendment considerations. I mean, this is a balancing, the law is clear on this, okay? It's a balancing test. And when your client says that he's arguing it as the First Amendment is absolute, is also troubling. So I would suggest that maybe the Associated Press needs to tone it down, just ratchet down a little bit. Because some of the arguments, including the first line in the motion to intervene, says that the Supreme Court held a certain thing, that I do not think that is what the court held. And you know the difference in a holding of an appellate court. So I just felt obligated to help you out a little bit in terms of what the Associated Press is asking for. And in the meantime, there's a lot of potential irreparable harm from media that is affecting a fair trial. So that is really concerning. This is a very high-profile case. So I'm happy to set this on June 9th, too. Okay, how about we set yours at 1:30, though, so we don't kind of push them all together. Does that work for you, Mr. Rudley?
It does, Your Honor.
Okay, does that work for you, Mr. Logston?
Here, I don't know if we'll have an evidentiary presentation ready by the 9th. That would be my concern. We can certainly try.
Well, let's see, and if that doesn't work out for you, then we'll talk about it. Okay, I just felt the obligation to talk about irreparable harm. Okay, there's a lot of interest here, Mr. Barone, and I think my job, my constitutional responsibility is to consider all of the potential irreparable harms or all the injuries or all the harms. So, I just want, maybe it's appropriate, I was just thinking, I just want to remind everybody, okay, on this particular issue, but all issues at all times, that we all, okay, judges, lawyers, journalists, media generally have constitutional responsibilities to both the First Amendment and the Sixth Amendment. What I generally am seeing in the newspaper and the media is no discussion about the importance of the Sixth Amendment. It's just the First Amendment, which is very important. But here's the real reminder. The first sentence of the preamble of the Idaho Rules of Professional Conduct says that a lawyer, as a member of the legal profession, is a representative of clients, an officer of the legal system, and a public citizen having special responsibility for the quality of justice. We all have that responsibility. And sometimes we push in a hard way for our clients, and that's appropriate. But you have larger responsibilities at the same time. Okay, so we got a hearing.
I wonder why he wants the gag order lifted. That's because he probably wants it lifted so people will talk and fuck the case up. The press is going to piss the judge off for sure. Like fucking Betty and them. That motherfucker. These fucking lawyers, especially that fucking chick, man. But I could have swore that it was another female lawyer, not a male. Right, I think that's why he would want it lifted. So it would fuck the case up. Piece of shit. I have a feeling he's going to get off easy on this. I don't know, I just have that feeling.
Hearing 10:30, that's for the Gonzalez family with Mr. Gray. 1:30 is the Associated Press et al. With Mr. Carone. And I think that deals with all the pending motions. Forgive me, Mr. Gray, you articulated what your motion is. So we could address that.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
You're welcome. And Mr. Carone, those two issues that are still outliers on your clients, I think that's all we have. The motion to vacate the amended non-dissemination order and the motion to intervene. Anything else that we need to address for your clients, Mr. Carone?
No, Your Honor, unless you mentioned the broadcasting issue as well. I'm not sure if you're going to set a separate briefing schedule for that. Obviously, the motion's going to follow the normal. The briefing schedule wasn't going to follow that. I just didn't know when exactly you wanted that briefing.
I'm going to send a briefing schedule out for everybody. And now, okay, if we're going to do it on.
That's a good question, Lacey. Do you know if he had that trip back to Pennsylvania scheduled before the murders or if he scheduled it after to go back across the United States to PA? I know, I feel bad for his dad, though. I don't know. He probably knew something, but I don't know. I felt bad for his dad. After? I think after, too. I don't think it's ever been said. His dad was a little weird. I felt sorry for him. I don't know why. See how much is left on this. Okay, not much.
On June 9th, you don't have very much time to do those briefs. So that's why I was thinking it made a lot more sense to do it at the end of June. But if you all think you're ready to do that, I'm willing to hear it. But I want those briefs. We'll say by June 2nd. Response briefs will be due by June 6th. And any reply briefs due by June 8th. So that's going to be rapid briefing. I'm just trying to accommodate everybody, okay? I got a lot of interest floating around on these issues. Without forgetting, Mr. Koberger, who's primary in this case right now. All right, so let's move to, and I mean, anybody who's here for Associated Press or Gonzalez family can be excused if you'd like. We're also happy to have you stay. No problem.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Turtle. All right, so what we have now between the parties is motion to compel, which we're moving out. That was kind of a on and off hearing. Disclosures of grand jury materials while protecting those materials from the public. Extension time to file pre-trial motions after receiving materials from the grand jury. I believe those are the motions that we have outstanding. Is this, are you arguing these or scheduling these, Ms. Taylor?
Your Honor, we can schedule all of those hearings.
Okay, when do you want to do this?
Your Honor, I think that if the court has June 26th, we can do that. We will be ready to address that round of motions on June 26th.
Excellent. We'll have that 1:30 on June 27th because the Associated Press moved that to the night.
June 27th is just my preference.
Okay, perfect. Well, 1:30. Okay. Is there anything else we need to address today, Mr. Rudley? Mr. Thompson?
Your Honor, I think the June 27th should work fine. For whatever reason, our office hasn't seen copies of the grand jury pretrial motions, but I think there was a miscommunication. Those will come, we'll be prepared.
Okay, great. And certainly if those issues are resolved between counsel, then we won't have to have a hearing.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so anything else we need to address today, Ms. Taylor?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Watson?
There.
Okay, great. So I think Ms. Masseth has been observing on Zoom. I just wanted to identify her and also Ms. I guess Ms. Beatty is too. So anyway, there are other people on the Zoom. So thank you. Okay, anything else then? No. Okay, thank you all. We are adjourned.
Well, yeah, I felt sorry for his mom too. They busted that house. All the hell going in there after him. This case is wild. Yes, Squid, this is truly, hey love. I love you too. Yeah, he was ready to go, wasn't he? Fucking piece of shit. He's guilty as fuck. Let me see here. What else I got? I ain't got much more, I don't think. Okay, here's something about the surviving roommates testifying that I wanted to watch. It might be something we've already. No, this is different, I think. Hold on just a second. Get all this out of the way so we can talk.
I'm Anjanette Levy, and I'm coming to you live from the Latah County Courthouse in Moscow, Idaho. This is where Brian Koberger appeared in court just a little while ago today. He was arraigned on the 4 murder charges and 1 count of burglary in the November 2022 murders of Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle, those 4 University of Idaho students who were...
He's not even in handcuffs or shackles. That's fucked up, really.
Stabbed to death in their house off campus. We are taking your questions this hour, so submit those to us on Twitter, YouTube, and on Facebook, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. And we've got some great questions coming in as usual, so thanks to everybody for watching and for sending in your questions. Let's send this first one to you, Linda. Where's the murder weapon? Will the roommates who lived be taking the stand to testify? And this question comes from Robert Sudano.
Well, Anjanette, let's take the latter one first. I assume the roommates will be taking the stand to testify, although the prosecution can make an election decide not to put them on the stand on the basis they don't need them to tell the story of what happened that night. So that's a decision that can only be made after we see the evidence that the prosecution has. Where's the murder weapon? That is the best question out there, isn't it? That's the one the prosecution wants to know the answer to. That's what they want to.
I heard this. I don't know where I heard it at, but I heard that the knife that they got killed with does not match up with the sheath that they found. Have y'all heard that? I don't even know where I heard that at. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. Not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. Not him. But you look at my exes, yeah. Don't let charm fool you. You heard the opposite, that they do match up? See, that's why I'm asking. I don't know where I heard that at, because like I'll just browse through shit. I'll hop in lives here and there, and I don't really get on here much anymore like I used to. I stay off here, man. It's the fucking devil. See, I heard about the receipt that they got. He ordered some stuff off Amazon or something, maybe. Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably wrong. I'm always wrong, but.
Want to find in that path. Remember the tangled path where the car went through forest and all afterwards? Obviously, somewhere out there that if Bryan Kohberger is the killer, only he knows where it is stashed.
And that's right. They recovered the knife sheath, which they said was right next to Maddie's body, the K-Bar knife sheath. The knife, though, to our knowledge, has not been recovered. There's a gag order, so we don't know if they have recovered it, and we wouldn't know had they actually found the murder weapon at this point in time. Let's go to our next one. Anyone know the motive? This is from Michael Plauchi from YouTube. Florina, do we know the motive in this case?
Well, if we believe that the defendant is also the online person who's been making comments, then he made the comment that this was a sexually motivated crime. I am not.
Okay, are they talking about Papa Roger? Because there's been a lot of stuff about Papa Roger coming up. See, I didn't watch the Dateline. Did anybody watch the Dateline thing on this? I've been aiming to watch it, and I haven't. I've just seen people talking about Dateline. I don't think they found it, Lace. I don't think they did. I don't think they ever will. I think it's somewhere between PA and Washington. He ditched us somewhere, and it's long gone. If they were onto him like they said, that he should have never left Washington. They were a little behind. Yeah, truly, I think he was Papa Roger. Yeah, the sexual stuff does hit me different. Did they come out and say for sure that they was not sexually assaulted? Well, he wouldn't have had time, would he? Yeah, see, Squid, that's why I was going to watch it, because I don't know. But I've always thought he was Papa Roger. But I also think, y'all remember that Brent, what's his name, Brent Kopacka, or whatever his name was? I believe he's dead now, but I believe I don't know, I always thought he was involved somehow. Oh, wow. Yeah, I missed it too, Lace. I didn't see the Dateline either. Which I don't watch TV either. Maybe we could watch that in Discord. Lacey, are you in our Discord? We have a really little Discord just for a select few of us. If anybody here wants to be in there. Not you lurking motherfuckers, but that's true, Allie. That's true. And they probably would have been able to really nail him. Yeah, maybe he had planned to sexually assault him or something, or I don't know. I hope we get to see some discovery or something, indictment, show us something. I mean, they have came out and showed stuff publicly that I didn't think they would, you know?
Not aware of evidence to support that any of the victims were sexually assaulted, but certainly with this gag order, whatever discovery is out there has not been disclosed. It is possible, I suspect, that he had some sort of obsession, some sort of online stalking situation with one of the victims, and that this just manifested into him potentially being one of these killers that is so arrogant and so educated that he almost wants to see if he could get away with this, and does it to see where he could go.
And I want to throw something in there, Florina. We do know that the victims were not sexually assaulted. They said that early on. It's been months and months, but the autopsy did not reveal any signs of sexual assault. However, psychologists will tell you that that doesn't mean that a crime wasn't sexually motivated. There can be a sexual component, even if there is no sexual assault. So that would be getting really into the weeds, a topic from another time, but I thought I would just throw that out there. Let's get to our next question. Heads will roll from YouTube. Have they seriously looked into previous places he was at college, high school, and any similar unsolved or similar murders? Ben Chu, I will send that question to you.
That's a great question. I'm quite certain that the prosecutors have done that and will continue to do that to see, because past can well be prologue, especially when it doesn't appear, although we're not sure from the gag order, but it doesn't appear that they have, the murder weapon. I think the less tangible evidence they have, the more likely they will go in looking for clues as to his past conduct.
And we do know that they have kind of gone poking around a little bit in that realm in his past classes in college. He was at DeSales University taking a class with Catherine Ramsland, who specializes in serial killers. So you can bet that they are looking into all of those things to see if there were any red flags back then. And we do know, I'll just add to that, Ben, that they have looked at some other cases in Pennsylvania, and I've been told they have not turned up anything where it looked like Bryan Kohberger was involved. So just wanted to throw that out there. Heather N. from YouTube, if found guilty and DP is on the table, death penalty, would there be a sentencing trial? Linda, tell us how that works when there's a conviction and the death penalty is on the table.
Okay, so let's start first when it's a possibility and it hasn't gotten there yet. The defense team actually has started already on the mitigation phase of this trial, even though they don't know whether the prosecutor will pick a death penalty avenue, because they assume that the prosecutor will, like the rest of us do. So just as we've seen in trial, you have a guilt phase, which must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Obviously, the prosecution will bear that burden. And if convicted, there will be a penalty phase where, depending on the specific law, but generally it's all the same, whether there's aggravating factors that will be presented, and the aggravating factors could actually be the prosecutor getting up and just saying, you heard the aggravating factors at trial, it's A, B, C, and D, there's multiple murders, there's torture here, there's stabbings, et cetera, et cetera. And then the defense presents evidence of what may have caused him to do this that maybe not his fault. We saw in Florida, someone in the room who was basically intoxicated with drugs and alcohol. And they'll try to put forward things that are mitigating factors that don't have to be proven, but have to be accepted by the jury. And then the jury individually weighs by themselves. One person individually can say, I don't believe that the mitigating factors outweigh the aggravating factors, and therefore there's death, or I believe that the mitigating factors do outweigh the aggravating factors as proven by the prosecution, and I can't put him to death. So it could be one person who says, no death penalty, and that's where it lay.
All right. Our next question comes from Amanda Montalvo from YouTube. Question, why didn't the roommate call 911 right away? Florina, that's kind of like the $64,000 question in this case. Why the roommate saw somebody walking through her home, went back into her room, apparently she was freaked out and scared, and didn't call 911 for 7 more hours.
I think, and I can tell you as a former prosecutor where I've had victims who didn't immediately report, we really don't know how we're going to react in a scary, shocking situation until we're in that situation, and not everyone reacts the same way. Shock and being scared can freeze people. We don't know exactly what was going through her head at the time. It's possible that she was so scared that she didn't know what to do. It's also possible this is at a time where she's living with multiple other roommates and just isn't sure what she saw exactly. And I think that's going to be fodder for a really good cross-examination of this witness should the prosecution.
I'm not so sure about Dylan, but I don't believe she realized what was going on if she saw him. I really don't. Because being that young and stuff, you know, you're not all the way mentally mature either. And you're not desensitized like we are or whatever. And I don't know. I don't know. Bethany, though, where they wanted her to show up in court, that's a little different to me.
Prosecution put her on the stand because the defense will, of course, point out that this person cannot identify the defendant, that this person was not concerned enough to report this immediately, and that this person at the time had doubt about whether or not a crime had even occurred, because if they knew for sure a crime had occurred, why didn't they call immediately? And the reason, of course, is because people react differently and people can freeze in scary situations.
Yeah, I mean, we never know how we're going to react in any of these situations. Nobody does. And we need to keep in mind, these are college kids. I mean, we don't know what was going on that night. We do know some of them were out partying, as college kids do. So any number of things could have happened. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll check back in with you after the break. We'll be.
That's all of that. Yeah, I think you might be right on that, Lacey. I think that's how they put her into the situation because it was her license. That makes sense. I get it. Yeah. At first I was side-eyeing Dylan, but, you know, the more, I don't think she had anything to do with it. And they can't, I don't know. She's so young, you know. I don't know what I would do in a situation like that. You know, and there were so many people that lived there. It was not a frat house, but a college house, party house. You know, it could have been anything. And she had, you know, the last thing you're going to think of, oh, yeah, my roommates are getting slaughtered. That's the last thing you're going to think's happening. And they were all probably loud and stuff anyway, all the time, you know. So if she heard them yelling and stuff, then she probably didn't think anything about it. Being young and dumb, yep, truly, I agree. I agree. Okay, is there anything else on this list? Do you know? Because what I've got, we've already played. I believe. Let me look here and make sure. Johnny Depp's lawyer reacts to the silent plea. Do y'all want to watch that? I like Depp's lawyer. He's been speaking on this case a lot. I think he did too, truly. And they said like the weekend before or days before or something, they had a big party there with like 150 people, if I'm remembering correctly. Right, Allie, I don't know what I would have done. You love being too. All right, let's watch this little bit of Depp's lawyer here. Let's watch him. And then this will be the end of it, and I'm going to end it. And us that's in Discord, we'll go to Discord and chill. If y'all wanna. Lacey, you should get Discord just to come in our Discord. It's the only one I'm in. I'm in ours, and I'm in one more, but I don't ever go in it. But ours is just like a few of us, because I'm not letting just anybody in there. Shit. Let me get this set up real quick. Yeah, I love Depp's attorney.
To the Law and Crime Network, I'm Linda Kenny Bodden. Well, Bryan Kohberger was seen in court, in a courtroom in Idaho for the first time since January, where he was arraigned on the charges of first-degree murder and felony burglary to commit murder in the courtroom of Judge John.
Oh yeah, Lacey, I I hate Discord. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But I love our little Discord because it's just us, you know, and I'm not making it public. Not just anybody's getting in there. It's just people that I truly trust and, you know, no bullshit, no nothing. And the first time something goes sideways, Allie knows I'll shut that shit straight down. But no, it's a good little Discord. I like it, actually. I know it's me, Allie, Squid, Wacky. I can't remember who else is in there. Truly, maybe. Are you in there, Truly?
John Judge, like the rest of us, getting choked up as he read the indictment for the slayings of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Zaina Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. While our own Anjanette Levy is setting up for questions and answers with our panel here on the Law and Crime Network, I want to replay to you some of that scene in the courtroom where Bryan Kohberger said 18 words, but you're not going to hear the words of not guilty. Those were entered by the judge. Let's listen.
The record to the standards. If you are found guilty or plead guilty on each charge, and the maximum sentences are imposed consecutively, that means one right after the other, you could be facing 10 years in prison, followed by 4 consecutive life sentences or death penalties, fines of up to $200,000 and $20,000 to be paid directly to the families with any restitution resulting from the crimes. Okay. Mr. Kohberger, do you understand the charge in count 1? Yes. Do you understand the maximum penalty? Yes. Do you understand the charge in count 2, murder in the first degree? Yes. Do you understand the maximum penalty? Yes. Do you understand the charge in count 3, murder in the first degree? Yes. Do you understand the maximum penalty? Yes. Do you understand the charge in count 4, murder in the first degree? Yes. Do you understand the maximum penalty? Yes. Do you understand the charge in count 5, murder in the first degree? Do you understand the maximum penalty? Yes. Okay, Ms. Taylor, is Mr. Kohberger prepared to plead to these charges?
Your Honor, we will be standing silent.
Okay, because Mr. Kohberger is standing silent, I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on each charge, counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, at this juncture, the state has 60 days to give notice of intention to seek the death penalty. And Mr. Kohberger has a constitutional and statutory right to a speedy trial. So let's start with you, Ms. Taylor, and then Mr. Thompson to discuss some scheduling.
Your Honor, we'd ask the court to set this trial at the very outside of the speedy trial, right? We're not prepared to do anything but ask the court to do that today.
Okay. Count it out, and that will be November.
I have not counted it out, Your Honor, but I believe it would be about November 22nd is when the speedy will run. Maybe November 20th. So I asked the court to set it for an October trial date.
How long do you think it'll take to try the case?
My best guess is it would take at least 4 weeks.
And there you have it. The judges entered a plea on behalf of Bryan Kohberger when he and his attorney, Ann Taylor, stood silent on the charges of felony burglary to commit a murder and 4 counts of intentional, willful, and premeditated murder for the killings of the 4 victims, Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Zaina Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. With me, you know him very well because you watched him on your network, is the great trial attorney, Ben Chew. Ben, we all saw you in a civil case involving Johnny Depp. This is also a case, but it's an important criminal case. All victims here, all the decedents are entitled to the right. Even the judge got choked up when he couldn't even say the names of the victims. Did you expect us to hear Bryan Kohberger's voice say not guilty, or is this an appropriate plea when the death penalty is still being considered by the prosecution?
Hi, Linda. Great to see you again. Yes, I did. I mean, as you pointed out, I'm really on the civil side, but I would have expected to hear something from Bryan Kohberger, but he does have a chilling equanimity about him. Anybody else who would be accused of these heinous crimes, I would think, would be showing some form of emotion, but it almost makes it scary to see him not addressing the charges and just having very little affect.
Yeah, and very interesting, Ben, that you mentioned that. And of course, I should have said hello to you in a proper manner here. But when he was asked whether or not he understood his rights, he said, yes, I did. And whether or not he had any questions about the charges and those rights, he said, no. Is your name spelled correctly? Yes. Is your 4 digits of your Social Security? Yes. And then, of course, do you understand these counts? Yes. But when it came to entering a plea, I too, like you, he was so strong with regard to understanding his rights it kind of scared me a little bit. And I'm a pretty seasoned trial attorney. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it almost, as one of your other commentators pointed out, it's almost as if he's playing a predetermined part in a play that he scripted himself. There's something about him that appears very purposeful.
And yet, of course, he has a right to abide by everything that's provided in the criminal procedure in Idaho, one of which, as we know, is to stand silent, especially until and while the death penalty is being considered for the next 60 days. Ben, I know you're going to stay with us here at the network. On the other side, our own Anjanette Levy is going to do a question and answer session after she tells us what happened to court.
Well, I thought it was going to be more. Usually he speaks more. I love him. I love that lawyer. I need to learn, Allie, how to turn my notifications on because I don't get notifications. Oh, that's what started the salty word. Oh, Lacey, I promise you, I swear, everything. You have no worries and hours. I promise. I was in Discord years ago with my OG crew, the people that Queen Bee come from. We're all in our OG community, and yeah, that's what the first time I got doxxed was because of that and all that. And I haven't been in none. I was in some recently. Not fuck that. I've left them or I shut them down. And then this, yeah, not just anybody's getting in there. No, I promise you, you're safe in there. I promise. All right, I'm going to play one more video and I'm going to end it right after the video. And thank you all for coming. I'll be live tomorrow with my Taco Tuesday, not taco as in the food, but my Taco Tuesday. We're going to start doing them every week at the same time on Tuesdays. And here is a video for my lurker, my biggest fan. Adios, amigos. Good night, y'all. Love y'all. See you in Discord. Adios.